From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 182 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. I can't believe it's June 1st, and this is our first episode of the month of June, and we are recording on Saturday, June 1st, 2024. I'm Warren Carr.
I'm Austin Pinto.
I'm John Dyer.
Kareen Kiwan.
And I'm Sally Kundus.
Welcome to episode 182. We're delighted to be coming your way again, and upcoming in this episode, we have the following lineup for you. In our Android Basics, we continue our series in the Samsung One UI, and then we have the App of the Week. And to close today's episode, Kareen brings us another installment about the customization of symbols of the Jieshuo screen reader. Welcome to episode 182. Sally, let's get to hear from you. You don't sound too good today, even though it's your birthday.
Hey guys, it's my birthday, yes, and today I'm looking really handsome, but as you can hear that I'm having kind of cold. I hope when you hear this episode, I will be getting better by that time. So I got a cold on Tuesday, and until now, I'm not really feeling good. Well, that's all I can say. This is kind of a cold birthday or flu birthday, whatever you say. It's all about it. Maybe next year is going to be much better.
I hope so, though. You're sounding okay. Some people may like you sounding this way, and some people will not like you sounding this way. But
If
I
they
think
like
to me, you
it,
sound okay.
let me know. Let me know so I can send you voice messages before my voice is gone.
Yeah, guys, let us know. Give us some comments as to whether or not you like Sally sounding sick the way he sounds right now. Because sometimes when people have the cold, it depends on who they are. They may even sound better than their regular selves. So let us know what you think about Sally's voice. It's at least getting better, looking like me, right? John,
Yeah.
what's going on, my man?
I'm doing good. I am not sick, which is nice. And I bought my first car this week.
You get a car.
Yeah, well, it's my wife's car. I don't drive it, but my name's on the title because we got a better interest rate, if we both applied for the loan. So yeah, new car. It's exciting.
What did you get? I like, what I like about new cars, is the smell of the car. It used to be that we got a new car every 2 years. We've quit doing that, but I really like that feeling of a new
so we
car.
got a Hyundai Santa Fe, and it's not technically new, but it's a 2023, and it only has 7,000 miles on it, and it does have that new car smell still. So we saved like $10,000 by buying it used, and it feels pretty darn new.
Does it have an Android Auto in there? It should.
Yeah, it does. It has a lot of bells
Nice.
and whistles. Yeah.
Nice. Now we can do some demonstrations on how to use that Android Auto, feature.
Yeah. How to take over the head when your wife is driving you around.
Exactly. Well, congratulations on the new car. I really like it. New cars. We haven't had a new car in maybe 5 years now, but I used to be, we got it every 2 years. So beautiful girl. I'm talking about Kareen. What's going on, my dear?
Hello, I hope that you are able to hear me well. My internet is not good today, but I'm good. I'm doing well, and things are going well here. And yeah, nothing really important.
You're not cooking any food, Kareen? Oh, well, dinner's over, right?
Yeah, it's now about 7 something p.m. So yeah, I sometimes eat late, but usually I like to eat earlier than that.
Nice. That makes two of us. I like to eat my dinner if I'm home between 4 and 6. Austin boy, you've been having a very rough time, and I'm really glad to see that you are on here with us today because I got a message from your brother. I think that was Thursday night, saying you are not feeling good. You are going to have a real quick surgery of some sort, and I'm surprised you are here with us. Tell us, give us some update as to what's going on, how you're feeling today.
So right now the cellulitis infection that has become a boil, that like an ulcer, so that has improved now. They have it's kind of very small. There's a small part that is still left behind that would not be removed. They said it will automatically heal. So very strong painkillers and antibiotics are on, but it's improving now. But the pain is there. So that is what is happening. We are in the month of June, and it's going to rain. I'm waiting for the rainy season, but I hope this improves till then, because if it rains, then I cannot go out. If it does not improve, otherwise, then there'll be a lot of mud on the ground, and it can enter the wound and might infect it again. So that is what is going on.
Well, I'll say to stay indoors, Austin. If it rains, definitely. If dirt, dust, and all of that is going to infect it for some reason, definitely I say to stay indoors. The last thing we want to hear is that you're back in the hospital again. So stay away from the rain and just get better. All that muddy street and all of that stuff. Leave that out there. I'm not particularly fond of the rain myself. When it rains, I don't want to be out there. Does any of you guys like rains? I don't like rains. I'm a desert kind of guy, and I'm glad to be in this part of the country that I live in. And for me, we're doing well. Nothing much going on besides the fact that the weather is getting better. And I was a little bit not feeling too well. I was kind of having like symptoms of a cold. My wife came back from school, kind of catching some cold, and I was almost getting it, but I used a little bit of Zicam, and I think that kind of preempted the cold, but I can still feel a little bit of symptoms. Other than that, everything's just fine.
And then the T20 World Cup also started, and this time the World Cup is in US. So today India is playing Bangladesh in New York. So that is I don't know how the pitch will play, because never US has hosted a cricket World Cups. So this is the first time.
You are kidding. There's a sports thing going on here in the States. I don't even know about it, to be honest. Well, that tells you how much I'm into sports. John, did you know there was something going on?
Nope. This is my off season. I don't really follow much. I do football in the summer, or football in the fall, and basketball in the spring. And basketball has almost come to an end. There's just finals, and then I have the summer off.
Austin, did you say that was cricket? How in the world are they playing cricket in the States? Kind of strange to me.
Yeah, it is cricket, and the US team also is playing in the World Cup. So I don't know how they hosted the World Cup in US. Even that is strange to me.
Wow,
but today's match is in New York.
I didn't even know that there was a cricket team here in the US anyway, but that's really nice. I hope that the US wins it.
I don't think the US will win, because it's the first time that they're playing. So I don't know what will happen.
Sometimes underdogs wind up on the top.
Yeah, that is there.
Rooting for the home team. And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics. We now turn our attention to our One UI discovery or exploration as we go through the system settings of the Samsung One UI. Today we come to the general management, and because it's a large area, we're going to be breaking this into 2 or 3 parts depending on what we find in here. John, though, will be giving us a preamble, and this time we're looking at the language area. John?
Welcome back to our series on Samsung's One UI. In this installment, we will continue our way through the settings. We are on the general management settings, and because there is a lot to cover in this area, we will just be focusing on the language portion today. I'm in the main settings now, and what we are looking for is
General Management, Language and Keyboard, Date and Time.
So I'm going into this section.
General Management. Navigate up. Button. Search Settings. Button.
We have search at the top as always.
Language. English, United States.
But the first option is our language.
Language. Navigate up. Button.
And in here,
The language at the top of the list will be used by default. If an app doesn't support your default language, the next language in the list will be used instead.
and I have
Selected. English, United States.
English, and that's all.
Add language. Button.
And below your list of languages is where you can go to add another language. Backing out of here,
General Management. Language. English, United States. App languages. Choose the language you want to use for each app.
pretty self-explanatory.
App languages. Navigate up. Button.
This just takes you to a list of all of your apps, and
Docs, System Default.
I'm just going to open Docs.
App languages. Navigate up. Button.
And I have set,
Checked. System Default.
which obviously is going to be your default, but if you want it to use a specific language, you would
English, United States.
select the specific language.
Spanish, United States. All languages.
And then below here is a list of all the languages you could choose from. Backing out.
App languages. Docs, System Default.
Now, this is not every app on your phone that you can do this with because developers have to opt into it, but hopefully the app you want to use will be in here. Backing out again.
General Management. App languages. Choose the language you want to use for each app. Language packs. Manage downloadable language packs used for voice input, text-to-speech output, and translation.
Going in here.
Language packs. Navigate up. Button. Language packs are used to provide voice input, text-to-speech output, and translation features in Samsung apps. These include Samsung Keyboard, Samsung Internet, Live Translate, Text Call, and more.
So here is where you would go to download your language pack if you want these features to be available in your language. The selection is a little bit limited. There's probably between 15 and 20 languages. But if this supports your language, this is where you would go to select it or download it. And that was all of the settings related to languages. So we will continue the general management portion of One UI settings in the next installment. But for now, I'm sending it back to the crew for further discussion.
So that's the preamble to the language here. We got 3 items here. The first item, of course, is that language. So when one is setting up your phone for the first time, you have that language that comes up. You choose a language. Those of us, if you're blind, of course, we know that when you turn on the phone and you enable accessibility, and then you find that thing in there that talks about language, this is where you go to choose that language. Now, it depends on the region you are in. Sometimes some areas don't have their languages. We have so many languages around the world. And, you know, in a utopian world, one would expect that every single language will be in there. But that's virtually impossible because some dialects are not even there at all, because it all depends on who's doing these things and whether or not they have someone in that part of the world that is part of the language development. What happens here is that if you select a language, that becomes your default. And as John shows us, once you go in here, you could add another language. And adding another language will be like a secondary language, or you could choose to make that your default if it's there. The major languages are here.
Does Sala or Kareen want to talk about how TalkBack can no longer let you switch languages at startup or first run?
Since TalkBack doesn't let you choose a language from the granularity, I discovered something with a Samsung device. After some attempts contacting Samsung, I can say that there are more offline voices coming with One UI 6.1. You could see that in TTS data. There are over 20 languages I can see right now. And those voice data are downloaded, which is great.
But the problem is that the language selection is still not there. It is in the main menu, but not in the granularity. At least when I did the setup of my 6.1 A55, it wasn't there, but it started with English because the sim was not inserted.
Yeah, but so if it starts with the English language, can you choose your own language? Because if you tap on the default language, it displays a list of languages. Does it have Arabic as one of the languages you can choose from?
Yeah, but I will lose speech because you know that Arabic is not a Latin language, so it will not be able, the TTS, the English voice will not be able to read. So I will lose speech.
Yeah, so what that means is that if you tap on a language that is not on there by default because it has to be downloaded and you are not yet on the internet, if you do that, then you'll be dead in water. So I see where that is coming from. So as Kareen and Sally are trying to say, these are languages that if you set up a device in your own language, for example, say I'm starting up my phone for the first time, and if the language is not there, like John says, there are like maybe 15 languages or whatever, that doesn't mean that we don't have maybe 40, 50 or whatever languages in there. We have those languages, but the truth is, the problem is that we don't have TTS support at that point until one is on the internet. And so this is some area that we need to be very careful about. If you're setting up a device for the first time and if you're blind, you want to make sure that your language is truly supported, that it does come on device as one of the defaults. If it isn't in there in that region, then it's best to use some other language that you understand. Just have the basic settings of setting up the device. And once you're connected to the internet, of course, you can go download your own language pack. And then that takes us, though, to the second item in this area, which, John, you talked about, the app language support. And this area talks about apps that you could use in your language. For example, say I'm running my device in English, but if I want a particular app to use Spanish, for example, I haven't tried it because I don't understand Espanol. John, have you tried to maybe change your Gmail to Espanol or change your Gmail to French, for example, and see what it would sound like in that app language support?
No, like you, I'm not multilingual, but have you used these settings before, Sala or Kareen?
Kareen.
Yeah, the app language is important, despite the fact that it's not supported by many apps. Well, the feature needs Android 13 and above, so you can't use it before Android 13. However, many apps are not supported, but the main advantage of this for multilingual users like me, well, if you are, for example, working on translating an app to your language, instead of changing the system language, you can just change the app language if the app supports this. Also, if you need to work with an app in your own language for any reason, you can just do it using the app language. So I hope that more developers are going to support this, because it's really a convenient solution instead of just changing the language of the UI completely. It will be nice if more developers just support this.
I see that's a very good feature because, like you indicated, I don't have to change my system language. So, for example, if I have an app that I kind of prefer using it in a different language, even though my main system language is English or Spanish, for example, but I want to have that particular app in a different language, it's a great idea. And so, as you indicated, Kareen, this is an API thing that developers can take advantage of. And hence the reason why, if you go in this area, you're probably going to see a handful of apps. If you have a bunch of apps like John and I do, you may see some of them, a lot of them are in there. I think in my apps of about 400 some, probably I have about 100 something apps that could be switched to other languages. The rest of the 200 plus don't have that feature. And that's because the developer, of course, didn't pay any attention to implement that, take advantage of that API to make their app be one that could be switched from one language to another. And it's very important to have that, because if you look at the people around the world, a lot of people around the world speak other languages. And so it makes sense to have this. So if you're a developer and you are hearing us, please add them languages in there so that people can choose what they want to use. Let's move on to the third one. And we're talking about language packs. And Kareen, what do you have to say about this?
Regarding iPhones, language packs section is not in the iPhones, because it is related to on-device stuff like translation, speech recognition, and things. So we who are not having the AI stuff from Samsung don't have the thing related to language packs. You will not see it on your phone. It's not in the settings at all until this moment.
So that's kind of a little sad, though, that if one has an A series, one does not have this feature. I didn't know that. So, but one would think that this area is very important, because we're talking about things that have to do with translations and things like that, and or maybe other voice related things. And why would they choose not to give the A series these features? Or
Well, this is all on-device stuff. So I mean, you can use some translation features, obviously, like Google Translate. But like, if the newer features, like when you're on a phone call and your phone is translating what the other person is saying to you in real time using your phone's processor locally, this is the type of thing that you would need to have these languages downloaded from this section in order to take advantage of that. So I guess, hardware requirements, you need a certain amount of memory, you need certain processors to be able to do this type of AI, for lack of a better word, stuff on your phone.
Yeah, so I guess because of some of the limitations, as you indicated, John, it makes this maybe virtually impossible for one to have take advantage of that. For those of us that have the capability, or our devices that have that capabilities, one could add other languages in there. So I guess part of it also, it means that, hey, the manufacturers want you to spend more money, get a so-called better phone, even though, in my never to be humble opinion, I would like to believe that the A series are more than capable of doing some of these things, and holding it back from them, I don't know. Kind of little bit.
You never know. This is what we're told by Samsung, is that it doesn't, the hardware can't support it, but they might just be trying to sell phones.
Yeah, I would like to think so too.
Because Google tried something like this recently. Remember, they said Gemini Nano was only going to be available on the Pixel 8 Pro because of hardware limitations on the Pixel 8. But now that the Pixel 8a is out, in June, supposedly, you're going to be able to take advantage of Gemini Nano on both the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8a as well as the Pixel 8 Pro.
That's a very valid point because, like you indicated, these things were only supposed to be on the high end, and now we're seeing it being trickled into the other ones. Look back on the Pixel 6 series, for example, like the guided frames that we had, especially the one, the back camera that when the Pixel 8 came out, it was only for the Pixel 8, and then now it's available either on the Pixel 6 series or Pixel 7. So some of these things, frankly, I don't know, God forgive me, but I think that the companies are just trying to make us buy new phones because they don't want to, push out things that are available. They know technically, because in reality, it's just software. Let's be honest with each other. But then they just don't want to making us buying another one because they want to make more money. So I see where they're coming from. But when they do things like what Google has done, then it kind of falsify what they said earlier on. But I'm all for it. If it can be pushed out, let it get pushed out to the lower phones.
I have a comment related to this. Well, Samsung, for example, included the Arabic TTS or the Arabic voice, which was added recently. It included this in the Arabic pack. So I don't know why they just added Arabic like other voices. For Arabic friends, well, a friend was able to give me the APK, and I just took took it on myself to just share this, and it was shared in an Arabic, a big Arabic channel. Other people, Arabic voice, justifiable just in the language pack that will not be itself can be used on other phones. So I think this also adds to the point that you are trying to say, yeah, sometimes they just put things in a certain pack, not because we aren't able to use them, just because they don't want us to use them. They want us to wait.
Yeah, and when we wait, of course, we finally get frustrated. Okay, hey, this feature sounds so cool. I'm gonna get a new phone, and so of course you go out buy a new phone when your phone is fully capable of taking advantage of what's available. And it's just so sad they do these things. But of course, what can we say? It's one of the things that they do. You've got to keep the cash flow, and so it makes sense from their viewpoint, but from the viewpoint of the user, most especially if you have other commitments, you need money for something else, and being forced to go get something that for example, that your phone is fully capable of, but then you're not getting it because they want you to buy a new one. And then later on, then they bring it on, and meanwhile, you've already gone out and purchased that other phone. So I hope, though, that the the longer support like we have, let's say for Samsung devices or Google devices, they will now maybe consider pushing out some of these features into these phones, because they're just software, like we say. Google has these feature drops, that we call feature drops, and some of these things have trickled down to even the older phones. So my hope is that we'll see some of these things get trickled down to some of these other phones. Up next is the App of the Week segment. This is a segment dedicated to app demonstrations. Should you have an app that you would like to demonstrate for our listeners, feel free to send us the recording of such an app demo to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now for this week's episode, here's your App of the Week. Let's now turn on to our next segment, and this is the App of the Week segment. In this week's episode, I'm demonstrating an app called Voice Reader. Here's that demonstration. Hi, for episode 182 App of the Week of the Blind Android Users Podcast, this is demonstrating Voice Reader. Upon the completion of installing the app, however, the icon on your home screen would simply say Read Aloud. For this demonstration, I'll be utilizing the Galaxy S23 Plus running One UI 6.1 and Android Accessibility 14.x. I am on the home page of the app that is on the Play Store of Voice Reader. And now let's go ahead though and tap on the About. Here a short clear description of the app, and then we'll go ahead and install and get started.
About this app, heading.
I will tap here.
Google Play Store. Voice Reader reads texts aloud. Details.
I will now put down my finger and hear the description of the app.
Listen to any book, website, text document, online article, in your language. Listen anywhere to any web page, ebook, document, text file. Turn your books, news, magazines, scientific articles into audiobooks and audio podcast. Easily create playlist with web pages or any text files and listen to them later, even without internet. Just share any URL web address from your internet browser, paste text from the clipboard or open a file directly in the app. It supports many ebook and document formats like PDF, EPUB, TXT, HTML, RTF, OT, Docs. The reader continues reading when you lock the screen. It reads aloud in the background even if you are using other applications. Works well with Bluetooth headsets. The application does not require internet connection. You can add web pages and download text files to be read later, even when you are offline. The application is compatible with Google Text-to-Speech Engine, so you have easy access to high-quality, natural voices in over 40 languages. Select male or female voice, speech speed, voice tone and intonation. It can help you with learning foreign language pronunciation. Save your eyes. Let the app to read for you a chapter of your favorite novel or scientific book when commuting to work or journals and news digest before sleep.
I like that part that talks about saving your eyes. Absolutely beautiful. Anyway, let's go back now to the previous screen and tap on Install.
Play Store. About this app, heading.
Now I'll scroll back to top, find and tap on that Install.
Install button. Voice Reader reads texts aloud. Installing. Open button in list.
There we go. Now let's go ahead and tap on Open.
Read aloud. In progress. Progress bar 1. Progress bar. Out of list. Media control. Read aloud. Navigate up button.
Upon tapping on the Open, we heard it talk about media controls and all of that. Then we heard Navigate to Top. That's the button there on the top left corner of the phone. And since it is there on the top left corner of the phone, let's begin exploring from here and going right. So from the top left, we come across
Read aloud.
That's the title of the app. And then there are some buttons, I believe here on the top right, we've got
Speech settings button.
Speech settings is the first one, going right.
Page button.
We heard page, going right.
More options button.
More options. And that's the last one there on the top right. Now, below though, we have some other buttons. These are media control, like playback controls and all of that. And that's toward the bottom of the phone. Now, just above those media controls, on the right edge of the phone, we have a button that says Add to Playlist. Here's what I'm talking about.
Add to Playlist button.
Now, let's look at those button controls. Below this, and starting from the left and going right, we've got the following buttons.
Previous track button. Stop button.
I'm going right.
Pause button. Rewind button. Play button. Fast forward button. Next track button.
And that's the last item, next track. And of course, above that is that add to playlist. Below this, though, that is below these media controls, you'll
Web view.
find the
8A65 ECDDF26C.
that's an advertisement. So it has ads at the bottom. These ads, however, will not interfere with your reading. However, if you don't want to see these ads, of course, you can always buy the subscription. We'll see the subscription when we go through the settings. Now, let's go back to the top of the phone and look at some of these buttons, or all of these buttons that I mentioned earlier, the 3 buttons found on the right. We'll start with the speech settings.
Speech settings button.
Here is speech settings. Let's tap.
1 2. Read aloud. Media control. Navigate up button.
Upon tapping on speech settings, we heard 1 2. Basically, one of the voices here, and I do want to mention here, just like the description says, this is only compatible with the Google Speech Services. In other words, the TTS that it utilizes in giving you those TTS output read back is from the Google TTS. In other words, it's utilizing the Google TTS engine. So whether it's the online or the locally stored one, it is using the Google TTS. You're not going to be able to use your own TTS on here if you prefer using your own TTS. Now, let's go ahead and look at what we have in the speech settings. Starting from the top, here's what we got.
Read aloud. Language.
The first thing we heard is a language, and that's like a header. Below that,
Drop-down list. English United States.
we heard United States English, and if that's not the language that you want to use, of course, we tab here to go choose the language. So I'm tapping here, for example,
Pop-up window. English United States in list.
and moving down.
Selected. Filipino Pilipinos. Selected. Jawa Indonesia. Kiswahili Kenya. Malaysia Malaysia. Netherlands Belgium. Netherlands Netherlands.
Tiếng Việt Việt Nam.
Vietnam.
Turkcha Turkey. Bosanski Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Well, and it goes on and on. Those are the languages that are available. I'm not going to go through all of these languages. You could check them out if your language is one of these that is not mentioned or haven't shown that is here. You can go through to see if your language is in here. I'll go back.
Read aloud. Drop-down list. English United States out of list.
Moving on.
Drop-down list. NSXTPD local.
Now we're looking at the voices, and by default, we heard that male voice that played earlier. If I tap here,
Pop-up window. NSXTPF local in list.
so we heard the female one and it's local. So these are the voice variants that you could choose from. Moving down.
NSXSFG network requires internet connection.
So that anything that says network means it would require internet connectivity.
NSXSFG local.
And anything that says local means it doesn't need internet connectivity.
NSXIOB local. NSXTPD network. NSXTPC network requires internet connection.
You got the drift. So in other words, if you choose a language, then you can go in here and choose whether you want to use the locally stored Google Speech Services on your phone, or you would rather use the ones coming from the network. I'll go back.
Read aloud. Drop-down list. NSXTPD local out of list.
Moving on to the right of this selection, we've got
Language button.
something that says language. Let's see what this does.
Read aloud on top. Complete action using on bottom. RH voice. Column 1. In grid. 1 row. 4 columns.
So in
Complete
other
action
words,
using.
this pops up other TTS engines that it sees on my phone, even though they will not work for you if you choose them. So that's what that is. Let's go back.
1 2. Read aloud. Language button. Out of grid.
Moving on down, we got,
Speech rate.
we come across the speech controls like the rates, the pitch, and all of that.
By 1.00. 25%. Config speech rate, slider. Speech pitch.
And you can change it if you don't want it to be fast, or if you want it faster, or if you want the pitch to be higher or lower.
By 1.00. 25%. Config speech pitch, slider.
Moving on.
Not checked. Use system speech settings, checkbox.
And we have one that says use speech settings. Basically, I think if you check this, then it will be using the variant of the voice that you are using on your phone if you happen to be using the Google TTS. Let's move on down.
Test button.
We come across a test right there on the right edge of the phone, just above those media controls. Let's tap and hear what the test sounds like.
1 2 3 4 5.
That's how it would sound like. Now, let's go back.
Read aloud. Speech settings button.
Now, moving to the right from speech settings, we come across
Page button.
page. I'm going to tap on this to see what it does. Tapping on that does nothing. Now, let's move to the next, and that's the last item on the top right. That would be the more options.
More options button.
Let's tap.
Pop-up window. Settings in list.
The first one is settings. Let's go through them, and then we'll look at the most important ones. So there's settings,
Speech settings.
speech settings, which we already saw.
Skip these words.
Something called skip these words. Next,
Tips and tricks.
next,
Privacy policy.
next,
Share with friends.
next.
Read aloud pro. No ads.
That's the last item there. So this is where we could find the different subscription models. Let's go ahead and tap here and see what we have.
Read aloud. Read aloud pro. Out of list.
And putting my finger down,
Unlock all features and remove ads.
let's look at the options we got.
Not selected. $1.99 per month. Radio button.
So we have a $2 per month.
Selected. $5.49 per year. Radio button.
We got a $5.49 per year.
Special offer.
We have a special offer, and that
46 United States cents per month.
46 cents a month. You can't go wrong on that one. Next,
Not selected. $9.99 per one-time payment. Radio button.
and the last one here is a $10 one-time payment. And so choosing one of these, then you simply tap on continue at the bottom. I'll go back.
Media control. Read aloud. More options. Button.
It took me out of that, and I have to tap on more options again.
Pop-up window. Settings. In list.
Now let's look at some of the items in here that I think are of importance, especially settings. And I think the one that says skip these words. Let's look at settings. I'll tap on settings.
Settings. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Tapping on settings, here are the items we encounter.
Settings. Show the text that is being read aloud.
And to the right of that,
Checked. Checkbox.
in other words, if you don't want it to show the text that is being read, you could toggle this one off. Next.
Reading in a loop.
I don't know what reading in a loop means. If you want something read repeatedly, that's what that entails. And of course, to the right of that, you also have an on-off switch.
Not checked. Checkbox.
Next,
Keep screen on.
we come across keep the screen on. If for some reason you want to choose to keep your screen on, you have the on-off toggle there to the right.
Not checked. Checkbox.
And
Dark mode.
that's the last item. And if you want it dark mode, to the right of it, you have the toggle.
Checked. Detected.
And that's the
Icon.
switch that
Check.
says it's checked by
Checkbox.
default. If you don't want that, then you turn it off and you have the light mode. Let's go back.
Media control. Read aloud. More options, button.
It took me out, and I'm going to go back into more settings.
Pop-up window.
And now,
Settings.
let's
In
look
list.
at the one that I was going to look at, and that would be the skip these words.
Skip these words.
Here is skip these words.
Read aloud. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Tapping on skip these words, here's what we got.
Don't read these words.
Near the top, we hear do not read these words. And slightly below that on the right edge of the phone, we find a button that says
Don't read these words. Button.
Don't read these words button. Let's tap here and see what it does.
Read aloud Pro. Unlock all features and remove ads.
So this one needs some payment. In other words, this feature is behind a paywall. I'm going to go back.
Read aloud. Don't read these words. Button.
There's one last item here that I'm looking at, and that will be
Don't read paragraphs that contain.
do not read paragraphs or don't read paragraphs that contain. And of course, just like above, we see the same little button there on the right edge that says,
Don't read paragraphs that contain. Button.
and if we tap,
Read aloud Pro. Unlock all features and remove ads.
of course, it's behind a paywall.
Read aloud. Don't read paragraphs that contain. Button.
I'm going to go back.
Media control. Read aloud. More options. Button.
I am now back in the menu UI, and now let's go ahead and see if we could add a book or something to read. And in that case, we tap on Add to Playlist.
Add to playlist. Button.
Tapping here. Tapping on Add to Playlist, we didn't hear anything being read, but I'm sure when I put my finger down, we'll hear what the items are in this menu. Here's what we got.
Paste from clipboard. Any text. Website address. RSS feed.
And so we hear you could paste any text, be it a web page address, something that's from your clipboard, and blah, blah, blah. Below that,
Any text file. Book. Document.
so in this case, though, you could import some file from your device, whether it's a book or whatever the case may be. You tap on that to go import. I'm going to tap on the second item, that is to import any file, book, or document.
Books. Show routes. Button.
I'm going to tap on Show Routes.
Open from.
And now I'm going to tap on the name of my device
Warren's S23 Plus. In list.
and tap.
Warren's S23 Plus. Show routes. Button. Out of list.
I do have some books in a folder called Books. And now I'll tap on the Books folder and choose one of the books.
Books. Row 2.
Let's tap on Books.
Books. Show routes. Button. Out of grid.
I am now on a page with all of my books and all of that. Now, Google is being so notorious for flagging people for copyright and all of that. I mean, this is just educational. However, I'm not going to take chances of trying to play a book here. Instead, I'm going to look at a book that's from the public domain. And in this case, I'm going to be looking for a book by Tecumseh William Sherman from many years ago in the 1800s. I'll tap on the search and search for that book.
Search. Button. Window books. Search. Edit box. Showing English US QWERTY.
I will simply type in the first 3 or 4 letters of the word Sherman.
S. S. H. H. E. E. R. R.
And I'll hit the search at the bottom right.
Search. Share. Edit box. Search. Keyboard hidden.
All right, we should have some suggestions near the top.
Memoirs of General William T. Sherman. EPUB. 855 kilobytes. Column 2. In grid. 1 row. 2 columns.
And now I'll tap here to open this one or import
Read
this one.
aloud. Navigate up. Button. Out of grid.
You can see that it quickly opens up the item, and near the top we still have those buttons that we saw earlier,
Speech settings. Button.
and
Page. Button.
the last one,
More options.
more
Button.
options. Now, if I put my finger down or move finger down,
Memoirs of General William T. Sherman. Complete. Memoirs of General William T. Sherman. EPUB.
now I do want to mention here in passing that this app, however, the one thing that I wish it did have would be that it has support for chapters and all of that. In its current state, however, it does not have that. Instead, it has a slider. So in other words, if you're going to move from one chapter to the next or whatever, you have to use that slider. Here's what I'm talking about.
0%. Progress and seek. Slider.
So if I swipe up, for example, it should start reading.
Memoirs of General William T. Sherman. Complete Memoirs of General Sherman. Memoirs of General Sherman. Complete Memoirs of General Sherman. The Project Gutenberg ebook of the Memoirs of General W. T. Sherman. Complete, by William T. Sherman. This ebook is for the use of anyone.
I just tapped with two fingers to stop the reading. Now you can either do that or you could tap on the play at the bottom there, found within the media controls. Now, besides that, as I indicated earlier, it will show the text as well. So if I put my finger down,
Memoirs of General William T. Sherman. Complete Memoirs of General Sherman. Memoirs of General Sherman. Complete Memoirs of...
now that's my screen reader reading that. If I could change my granularity, for example,
Paragraphs. Lines. Words.
let's read word by word.
Memoirs. Of. General.
So in other words, it shows the text. So if you want to use your screen reader instead, maybe you have a braille display, something I haven't tried it with, I'm sure you'd be able to see that as well. And now, before I bring this to a close, let's look at the page button that is found in between the speech settings and the more options on the top right.
Page. Button.
I tap on that.
Read aloud. Navigate up. Button.
Tapping on that, we still have those buttons, speech settings, page, and then on the top right,
More options. Button.
we have more options still there, but the items in these more options is different. Here's what I'm talking about.
Pop-up window. Bookmarks. In list.
So you can bookmark.
Skip these words.
We also come across that skip these words
Remove.
and remove. Now, tapping on remove would remove the book you're reading. That is, remove it from your library. I'm going to go back.
Read aloud. Page. Button. Out of list.
And with that, I come to the conclusion of this short demonstration of the voice reader. I hope that you find it useful, and if so, give it a try. That has been the demonstration of the voice reader, which of course, upon installation, the icon, as I indicated in that demonstration, now becomes read aloud. Hey, did any of you guys try read aloud? John, did you try it?
Yeah, I did try it. It works nice, but there's something I need to point out. It suffers from the same bug, if you will, that reading mode does. And it's more of a bug with Google TTS. But if you are using it with Google TTS or speech recognition by Google, whatever they're calling it now, speech services and recognition, I don't know. If you're using Google TTS as your main TTS engine, then it will interrupt this while it's playing. So if you hit the play button on it and then you do anything with TalkBack, it will interrupt it and then it will basically stop playback, and you'll have to hit the play button or do the play gesture again to get it going.
So in other words, it's behaving like a lot of the reading apps that use the Google TTS are doing. I'm looking at things like even the Dolphin Easy Reader will do the same thing if you have TalkBack running, or some other reading apps will do the same thing. So I've been using it though. I think maybe for me,
you're using the multi.
I'm using the multi-language, whatever that thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you use something like that, it doesn't affect it, and it just reads so nice. So that's something to pay attention to. If you're going to use it, for example, maybe use something else for your main TTS. Say, hey, you have an a cappella or something else. And then once the book commences, or do what I do, I kind of, like with my easy reader, I just, once I hit the play, then I use the gesture to mute speech. So it's not affected. And I think that may mitigate that as well.
Another workaround usually is, now I like audio ducking turned off, but usually if you have audio ducking turned on, it will continue playback. So like, for example, with reading mode, if you have audio ducking on, then it will stop playback. But as soon as TalkBack is done saying whatever it was saying, then it will automatically resume playback. But the reason it doesn't work here is because this specific app that you demonstrated does not support audio ducking. So because of that, this audio ducking workaround won't work in this case. So yeah, like you mentioned, either use a different TTS engine, or if you really like Google TTS, use something like Auto TTS or Multilingual TTS to, still use Google TTS, but not have it technically set as your default speech engine.
Yeah, and the thing about that multi-TTS, multilingual TTS, it sounds better than the Google TTS that comes on by default anyway on the phone. So that's something to keep it.
If you go above 200, it's going to sound the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be using this app. But the only gripe I have with the app is the fact that it doesn't have, like, say, I just want to go to like a table of contents and just choose the chapter that I want. Instead, it uses that slider, and it kind of makes it a little bit difficult then to really jump to the chapter that you want, and you have to keep scrolling. Using that slider to get to a chapter, but then you're not going to know if I've jumped to chapter 10 or chapter 11, because it just goes by the percentages. And I wish the developer could implement support for table of contents. But the other thing I like about it is the fact that it opens up, PDF files really quick compared it to other apps in this class, and it seems to open up PDFs faster than other apps that I have that I want to use for PDF, and some of them don't even open up PDF. So I'm glad we have another choice. And for 46 cents, if you want that special, whatever, 46 cents a month, I think that's a good one. I just went ahead though yesterday and I got the $10 one-time payment.
I've also noticed that for your demonstrations lately, you've been using your Samsung phone a little more often. This one was using your S23 Plus. I think maybe you're finally coming around. It's a much better phone to use, so you use it for your demonstrations.
Oh, brother, we've got to rub it in. Yeah, maybe I'm a secret admirer of Samsung. I'm kind of hiding in the closet about Samsung. I want to join the club. Nah, I'll use it for my demonstrations though, because I think that a lot of people use the Samsung phones. So it kind of makes sense to use it, but I don't know why I use it mainly for my demonstration purposes. Maybe next time I'll do a Pixel phone instead, John. Maybe that's what I should do.
The demonstration is going to feel very bad because Pixel phone does not have anything inside.
Pixel phone doesn't have anything inside. It has Gemini. You forgot about Gemini, Austin?
It is only plastic. Nothing inside.
Oh, brother. All right. Go ahead and slap my Pixel on the head. It's fine. And now, the Jieshuo, or what Austin refers to as the Joshua screen reader, aka commentary screen reader. And if you're me, the confused screen reader. This is a segment dedicated to some new feature of the great commentary screen reader. And now for this week's episode, here's your new feature of the commentary screen reader. Let's now move on to the last item of the episode. And of course, we're talking about another entry from Kareen regarding the Joshua screen reader, confused screen reader, Jieshuo. Kareen talks about the customization of symbols, and it's a very important feature. I wish we have that in TalkBack. Now, Kareen, I'm even liking your demonstration here about the Joshua screen reader, a feature that I wish we could have in TalkBack. Here's Kareen now to show us how you can customize this or add symbols that you want it to be pronounced something different. Here's Kareen demonstrating that feature.
Hi, let's talk today about custom symbol definitions. If you want Jieshuo to pronounce the period as a full stop, the hash sign as the number sign, etc., it is possible to do that using the custom symbol definitions. Let's open Jieshuo settings.
Main menu. Jieshuo settings. Jieshuo plus.
And then TTS settings.
General settings. TTS settings. TTS settings.
And then
read custom symbol definitions unchecked.
Read custom symbol definitions. This checkbox means that if it is enabled or if it is checked, the custom symbol definitions created by the user will be read. So the real punctuation or symbol will be replaced by the user specified text. If unchecked, the specified replacement texts by the user will not be read.
Custom symbol definitions settings.
And I have custom symbol definition settings. Here I have the list of all the modifications that I did, and I have also the add button where I can add a new symbol.
Custom symbol definitions settings. Custom ADD button.
The list now is empty. I'll tap on add.
Enter keyword text box.
Enter keyword. Here I should type the symbol or the punctuation, which will be now the period.
Mic, period. Replace with text box.
Replace with.
Browse by touch suspended.
It will be the text that I want to replace the period with.
FULL space ST tango OP papa. Browse by touch. Cancel button.
I can cancel.
OK button.
And OK to save the changes.
Custom symbol definitions settings.
Now this will not take effect until the read custom symbol definitions is checked.
Period.
I have the entry here. If I want to delete it, I just long press and tap OK to delete it. If I want to edit, I just double tap. Let's go back.
TTS settings.
And enable the option.
Read custom symbol definitions unchecked. Checked checkbox.
I have the word hi, which ends with the period.
Clipboard history. Enter keyword. Hi full stop.
It said hi full stop. Here I should talk about a problem, which is the lack of a punctuation manager in Jieshuo or any granular punctuation control. So now the period is replaced by a full stop. So whenever the period is present, it will be pronounced as full stop, and it will be pronounced always. So if I'm reading something, the period will be always pronounced. Because in Jieshuo, I can't specify that this punctuation mark should be read, this punctuation mark shouldn't be read, or at least to say that I want some punctuations to be read, all, most, or none. This is not possible in Jieshuo. There is an option to read punctuations, but it usually doesn't work, and it's just a checkbox to read or not read the punctuations. So the feature itself is useful, but the lack of a proper granular punctuation manager makes using it sometimes annoying more than useful. Thank you for listening.
Well, that's it. Kareen, you don't want us to make comments, right?
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
You should
Oh,
be
boy.
honest. You should be honest. How many demonstrations that I did, you just thought to yourself, oh, just I hope that this is in talkback.
Well, I like this feature, though, to be honest, because, as we were saying earlier on, if one wanted to hear some certain things and maybe you want to hear them differently, I think it's a great idea. The guy is brilliant. I'll give him that. If he wants to be more brilliant, bring the app to the Play Store.
Don't bring the app to the Play Store because we don't need it. Actually, we are okay with how you are distributing it. but honestly, though, the lack of, as I said in the demonstration, because we have no punctuation manager that just is used to specify which punctuation should be read and which punctuation shouldn't be read, this is making the usefulness of the feature just less than it could be, because this is impacting the feature. So I hope that really he will add a punctuation manager, which will make it a more complete feature, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm not very familiar with it. I don't use it, but I'm a little bit more confused than anything else. Of course, it's a confused screen reader, so it kind of got me confused.
No, it's simple. Just you look NVDA. I don't know if Joe's has it. I think it has it. With NVDA, you just can say, okay, I want some punctuations, all punctuations, none or most, and you can decide which punctuation is in the sum, which punctuation, right? So this is the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah, so are you, in other words, saying that in Jieshuo, one does not have, like, where you go to say all punctuations or say some or most or none? It doesn't
it's like
have that?
Talkback. It's like Talkback that doesn't have the feature as well.
Well, Talkback has, say punctuations or you don't, no?
Yeah, but it's not really the thing. It should be more granular. It should be like you have the ability to just have some control, not only yes or no, not take it or leave it.
Yeah. So in other words, let's have it like other screen readers have it. But I like the particular fact that you demonstrated. One could choose how you want a certain punctuation pronounced. So if you're in the English world, I'm talking about UK, for example, you don't want something saying period. You want it to say full stop. Then you could choose that, for example, even if you are here in the States, and if you prefer to hear full stop, you could choose that. And I think that's a very good idea. I like it. All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us. Well, folks, with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. As always, we love hearing from you. And here's Austin to give you information on how you can get hold of us. Austin?
To contact us, you can send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. You can join our mailing list by sending an email to blind Android users plus subscribe at groups.io. You can join our Telegram, Facebook, Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The links for everything will be at the bottom of the show notes and also in the video description of the YouTube channel. And also the links are in the websites panel of the YouTube channels.
And with that, we wrap up this week's episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. We look forward to seeing you next week. From me, guys, it's goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Have a great week, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.